Hello, and welcome to another presentation of the Lone Road Ranger. Today we're going to be talking about Caney, Kansas, which is a very interesting little town. Caney is a small town in southeast Kansas, and it was founded in 1869 and was named from the Caney River. The first post office in Caney was established in 1870. In 1887, the Missouri Pacific Railroad was built through Caney, and in that same year the town was incorporated. In 1905, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad had also built through Caney. The two railroads served the city for much of the 19th century. Today, only the former ATSF tracks remain, currently operated by the South Kansas and Oklahoma Railroad. A quick story about Caney's famous gas well fire that happened in March of 1906. A gas well sprung a leak, and it was firing flames up in the air 100 feet, and people from all over came to watch it. It took them 15 days and lost millions of feet of gas before they get it put out. And they tried covering it with a 35-ton hood, but they never could get it on well enough to extinguish the fire. Finally, after 15 days, it finally just burned out itself. We're getting ready to turn into the Safari Zoological Park, and it's basically a zoo that has all kinds of cool primates, large cats, bears, wolves, foxes, and some tropical birds. It's a really neat place, and if you have time, you choose to stop by and see it. Since it's a private zoo, their hours can be a bit irregular, so it's good to call before visiting. Sometimes weather may play a part in whether or not they can open also. Here on the corner is a little store called Myrtle's Market. It's a cool little boutique that sells clothing, hardware, flowers, and woman accessories. It's a cute little store, appeals to all genders, even me. Take a look at this beautiful mansion here on my left. Boy, it takes you back in time to the turn of the last century, maybe. Of course, just about everybody from around this area knows about Big G's Bullpup Pen. They have everything from hamburgers to tacos to Philly steak sandwiches, cones, shakes, flurries, sundaes. They got it. It's good, very good stuff. Take a look at this next clip I put on here. It's a restored gas station, but with a modern look. And it's pretty neat. They've got some old gas pumps out there, a Texaco sign, several other parts and memorabilia that date back to another era. We're going past the city park here in Caney. They've got some very nice equipment for children, a pavilion that's covered for picnics, things like that, just park benches that people can sit and rest and watch their kids play. Very nice, clean park, and just super. I'm really impressed with this one. Back in the old days, the cities had reunions and turnouts for different things like parades. I got a couple pictures here of the Armistice Day Parade. This goes all the way back to 1918, when the armistice was signed between France and the Allies, that is, and Germany. in World War One, and it was quite a turnout. It looks like to me. It's one of those things that you kind of wish you could have been there to see it, but I can't find any more pictures than what I put on there. And there's always a lot of old pictures, and I found several, but things like this picture here. It's a mine and camp in the area, 1904. But they just didn't take pictures back then like they do nowadays. We can pull out our phone and take pictures all day long, and we think nothing about it. But back then, they had to have pretty heavy equipment to do that. Here's a old picture of the old Caney High School. Again, I don't know what year this was, but I'm going to say it was probably built around the late 20s, early 30s, something like that. And it just, it's gone now. Of course, they have a beautiful new high school here, though. It's very nice. This is another picture of this time McKinley School, and it looks like it was a high school, 3 stories. I went to a school very much like this in my hometown of Cherryville. 3 stories. We didn't mind climbing those steps when we were young, but the older we get, the harder those get to climb. And last but not least is the Washington School. And again, 3 stories, but it's a different school, and I don't know where it is or where it was located, but it's a pretty good looking thing. Just about every little city or town had a brick manufacturing company close by. They made bricks for paving streets and sidewalks, even houses, and this was Caney Brick Company. Of course, now it's long gone, just like most all of them are. We take a look at our downtowns now and think, what did they look like back at the turn of the last century? This is a picture of Caney around 1900. Since there's no documentation of it, I'm guessing, but there's horses and wagons there, so I'm assuming it was around 1900. There was a different life there. Almost all the downtown main streets were wide, so these horses with wagons could make a U-turn. And a lot of time they had teams of horses, might have 4 or 6 horses on a team, depending on the weight they had to haul in their wagons. Downtown modern day Caney looks pretty darn good compared to most other towns that I've been videoing, and it's pretty impressive. Everything's clean and everything's laid out very nicely. Even the old buildings are still intact. The construction was pretty solid back then. One thing to keep in mind about the conveniences we have today, all of these streets back then were probably just dirt streets. I'm talking somewhere around 1900. Later on, when the brick factories got into production, they made them into bricks streets. And on top of that, now there's asphalt. But we've got it pretty good now compared to what the pioneers had several hundred years ago. Here's a Caney smelter. Can you imagine working in that place? But they did. They did it for their families and for the city. So it's We ought to be thankful about how easy we have it today. I love these old postcards. These were written way, way back in the early 1900s. Everything was done by postcards, by letter. There were very few phones, no TVs, and later on there were some radios, but all your communication had to be done by mail, postcard, handwritten, most of it. So another convenience we take for granted. Manual labor was the main thing. Like this city dam was built in 1911. Most of it was done by horses and oxen and just muscles. There was no heavy equipment, so to speak, back then. It was just done by hand, most of it. Now here's the new one. It's still 1994. It's been over 30 years ago now, but it looks good still. This park is a full city block, and as I said before, I'm quite impressed with it, but I could take my grandkids over here and they would stay in that park all day long, I'll guarantee you. It's a nice park. Well, we get now to the Caney Valley Speedway in Caney, where they have races every Saturday night. It's a quarter-mile oval track, and they have races like Midwest Modifieds, Revival Late Models, dwarf cars, sprints, and they're very popular. So you want to get there early and enjoy it because it is a lot of fun to watch them. I always look for famous people from every town that I video, and it's kind of unusual that Caney has several people who are famous. This fella here is Charlie Rhodes. He was born in April 7th, 1885, and lived in Caney, Kansas, and played for the Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds from 1906 to 1909. He was only 5'7" tall and weighed 180 pounds when he was playing. Dusty was his nickname. The second famous person from Caney is a guy by the name of Greg Schaefer. He was born on November 21st, 1946. He spent his childhood on a farm near Caney, earned a undergraduate degree in mathematics at Princeton University, served in the Peace Corps in Afghanistan before launching his academic career. Before joining the Rutgers Business School in 1992, he taught at Princeton and the University of Kansas. The third famous person from Caney is a fellow by the name of Clancy Hayes. Clancy was born in Caney on November 14th of 1908. As a child, he learned to play the drums, then switched to guitar and banjo. His regular banjo was a 6-string instrument, which is tuned as a guitar. He also played with the Firehouse 5+2, Turk Murphy, the group that evolved into the world's greatest jazz band. He died in San Francisco on March 13, 1972.
Hey Pierre, who was that masked man?
That, my friend, was the one they call the Lone Road Ranger. Look, he left a silver bullet